I have another field gear idea video for you here. This video came about because of a conversation I had over on Telegram. Now this video is going to be on a very important piece of equipment. I know most people think this is boring, but this can keep you alive. Okay, this is just as important as your weapon, as your body armor, as your electronics, you know, your radio, night vision, and so forth. And that's waterproof bags. Now I'm going to give you a scenario here to point out just how important these are. At the time I'm making this video, it's December. So put yourself in that frame of mind. It's winter, snow's on the ground, it's deep, you're out walking through the woods, across the prairie, whatever it is. You come across a little dip up ahead. No vegetation in the center, but you see that there's vegetation on the higher parts of the dip. You think nothing of it. You walk down into it, get a few feet into it. Your plan is you're going to climb up, you know, the little bit of embankment on the other side. You take another step, and then all of a sudden, the snow underneath you gives way. You break through the ice and you fall into a stream. Now, depending on the air temp, you could have seconds, you could have minutes, until you're going to end up hypothermic and then freezing to death. So what you have to do in that situation, get out of that water as fast as you can, get to an area out of the wind, get a fire started going, get those wet clothes off, and replace them with dry clothes as you are drying yourself off with a towel that hopefully you'll have with you. This is a way to keep those clothes dry inside that bag when you go through the ice. If you do not protect those clothes inside that rucksack, inside that assault pack, when you go through that ice, the clothes in your bag are going to be just as wet as the clothes that are on your body. Now, I mentioned this stuff in the past when I did the video on packing a rucksack, and I figured this really should be its own separate video on its own now. First off here, we got a smaller USGI waterproof bag. And this one, if you can actually see the top here, says it is a liner rucksack size 1. This thing is super small. This thing would work for protecting clothes and stuff that is put inside an assault pack or the contents of your butt pack. Or you can put stuff inside and tie it to the outside of your rucksack. This is actually, I got this from someone who has this set up and tied to the outside of their bug out bag. And inside here, you have a poncho liner which takes up about that much space. And then up in here, there's some spare clothing items, like spare socks. And there's also a large piece of cloth which is a head covering. So they can put it over their head as a hood. They can wrap it around them as a scarf. This piece of cloth is like 30 inches by 30 inches, so they can throw it over them to help keep them warm a little bit, and then throw the poncho liner over the top of that when they would have to stop somewhere for a bit. What keeps it waterproof is you have it tied off really good so that no water can get inside. There is instructions on the bag here for how to fill it and tighten it up. Basically, pack it. This bag says blow air into it to build it up for some reason. I don't know why. We would always press the air out when I was in the military. You're then supposed to take the end, fold it over a couple times if you can, and then as you see here, tie it off. But it works doing it this way also. It stays pretty watertight also. Now this next one here is an example of what you can find on the civilian market. This particular one is Ozark Trails Waterproof Tablet Dry Bag Green. This one, as you see here, has two hooks on it so you can clip it to the outside of a rucksack or a bug out bag. Has a buckle for the enclosure. You gotta fold over the top to try to seal it up. And inside here is just a poncho liner. That's all the person I got this from could fit inside this. And the person who packed this bag said it was a pain in the butt just putting a single poncho liner in here. Oh, I forgot to mention the dimensions on this bag over here when I measured it. Height is about 17 to 18 inches, and the diameter is between 6 to 8. That's kind of hard to tell. Now over here, this is the one I recommend for putting inside your rucksacks, especially if you have a large. This one, if you can read the label on it, says bag waterproof clothing. Dimensions on this is about 16 inches in diameter, 30 inches in height. As you can maybe see on here, they do print the instructions on here for how to seal up the bag. But it's the same as the tiny, put the stuff inside, squeeze out the air. If you can, roll over the top and then tie it off using the ties. Now, I am aware that you have this tied off good, so no air escapes, nothing can get inside. When you have this inside a rucksack, this actually assists the rucksack in becoming a flotation device, depending on the weight of the rucksack itself. That is something I heard that they do in sapper school. Now, do not worry if yours is missing the strings. You can still somewhat waterproof this by not filling it as much. And then you take one side, lay it over the contents, the other side over the top, and then pressing it down, feeding it in around the rucksack. And that will at least keep the stuff inside dry from melting snow or rain as it's coming down. But obviously, it's not sealed up. You cannot use it as flotation device because stuff will get inside. But at a minimum, hey, just out walking in the woods, it'll keep your stuff dry from moisture falling out of the sky. Another recommendation, Ziploc bags, even inside this. Your more important stuff that you want to keep dry, especially to stay alive in an emergency. So just your regular freezer type bag, double zipper is double Ziploc like this, not the slider. I would put in one bag, spare drawers, spare t-shirts, spare socks, and then another bag, put in, say, long john top, long john bottom, or a wool sweater, spare set of glove liners, that type of stuff, so that you have that stuff is in there. You can pull it out in that emergency survival situation and get it on quick. And obviously it would be packed towards the top of your rucksack, towards the top of your assault pack for those emergency survival reasons. You fell through the stream or fell into the stream and you got to dry off. So then you're not going to want to be digging down way in the bottom to find the stuff. You're going to want it near the top as close as possible. Also recommend fire starting materials, especially in wintertime. Have it inside a Ziploc bag near the top of your rucksack or inside a pocket on your uniform that you can pull out. Stuff is dry inside that Ziploc bag. You can use it to get that fire going to stay alive. A little trick, I'll just point this out quick, not related to this. When you're trying to start a fire, it really helps if you have a candle. You can light that candle with that match, and then you use that candle to try to get the material going to start your fire. That way you're not using up all your matches. You just light the one thing with that match, which only lasts a few seconds, and you got something that'll last a lot longer that you can use to try to get the tinder going for that fire, to try to heat you up and dry you out. Now, if you can't afford this stuff, remember there is the large 2.5 gallon bags, but unfortunately I can only find these with the sliders. I can't find them Ziploc like this. I've looked and I can't come across them. Now, you're probably wondering, what's the prices on this stuff? These on average typically are between $6 to $10 depending where you get them from. Sometimes you'll come across people that are trying to sell them off. You know, they have them as clearance and they'll mark them down for cheaper, say around $4. This, when I looked it up online, these are selling for about $10 a piece, and they do come in other sizes. You know, they do come larger, they do come smaller. This is just the one that someone had that I was able to get a hold of to use as an example. USGI waterproof bags, the largest. These typically are going to be between $15 to $20 a piece on average. I have come across some that are as low as $8 when I've looked online, but those are in used condition. So there's the possibility there could be pinholes in them. There could be a cut, a tear, something like that. It could be missing the strings. You know, if you can, try to get unissued, unused. If you get a used one, you know, look it over, see the condition. You know, see if you have to do any types of repairs on it. My guess is you should be able to repair them fairly simply by using some rubber cement and some type of rubberized material as a patch to go over that cut or that tear. This is a rubberized bag, as is this one. So that should work for repairing that. Basically figure you got the cut in here, you cut a patch of the material that you want to use as your patch. Put some rubberized cement all around that cut. Put the patch on there, press it down for a while, make sure smooth it out so that it's flat against here, making a good watertight bond. And then let it sit a bit. Then come back and then probably coat the edges going all the way around on the patch and onto the bag itself with some more of that rubberized cement to for sure seal it up. Not too much different than when you put a patch on a Gore-Tex jacket or some other Gore-Tex material. Don't overlook this. This is something that can keep you alive, obviously, in the wintertime. These are important. Keep your clothes dry. Keep the stuff in your rucksack dry. Because you never know. You could be that person who rolls down the hill into that stream. Or the person who's crossing what they think is just a big, wide open field. And then find out, holy shit, there was an irrigation ditch in the middle of it that was completely filled with snow, and you just fell through it into the water beneath. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot and militia movements, always remember, essayons.